not self-reflecting.
Mm.
If you're not reflecting on the role that you played in your marriage and your divorce, you are missing crucial life lessons. Now, we're not saying, how was this your fault, right? It's not about pointing fingers or taking blame or anything, but it's like, you did play a role. We all did.
The Ugly Truth of Divorce podcast with Sam and Leah, helping you not just survive, but thrive.
Good morning, you guys, and welcome back to the Ugly Truth of Divorce podcast, where we are your hosts, Sam and Leah, and we are today going to tackle the 5 mistakes.
Yeah, the 5 most common mistakes that we see ladies make after divorce.
I just want to guess at one: not take care of themselves.
Yeah, that's definitely on there.
Okay. I hope it's on there because that's what we see all the time.
Yeah. By the way, I made all of these mistakes after my divorce.
Oh, and now I'm really excited to go through them because now I want to know. I'll be honest too and tell you if I did it as well. You guys, we launch a new podcast every single Monday, and along with every Monday, we also do the next chapter, which is a private support group where you can pay $97 a month and get some great trainings and also have a Q&A. So today is Thursday when we're recording this. So part of what we're going to do after we record this podcast is jump over to that next chapter and answer questions to our members. So let's get started. What are the 5 most common mistakes women make after divorce?
So mistake number 1 is paying too much attention to your ex and what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of felt that little sting in my back.
Drive-by,
the stalking.
Yeah. Social media. That's the biggest one.
What are they doing? Who's over there? Where are they going?
Yeah.
Who's with my kids?
Are they posting? Yeah. Where are they checking in? It's just not helping. That's the thing. It's just not helping you. It's not helping you move on. It's triggering you. It's getting you angry and all revved up. And we see this a lot, especially if your ex has moved on and now they're maybe dating somebody new and you just want all the details, but it's really just an energy suck. It's one of those things that's just keeping you in a bad mindset and pissing you off or getting you sad and upset. And it's keeping you stuck, right? It's not helping you move on. So that's definitely something. If you didn't block your ex yet on social media, you probably need to, or at least unfriend them. And again, this is because even if you have an amicable relationship, if you really are, you have to be honest with yourself here. And if you find yourself checking them on social or seeing what they're doing or whatever, it's like, why? You got to ask yourself why. And if you can't handle having that there, like, what am I trying to say? Like the temptation, maybe, then just get them off, just unfriend them or block them or whatever you got to do to avoid.
Yeah. Absolutely. And when you do, you're going to go, why didn't I do this a long time ago?
Yeah, you used to do drive-bys, you would say.
Yeah, because his house was on the way to the elementary school. So it wasn't really I was driving past his house, but I would always look to see, like, are my kids outside? Is he home? Like, and my therapist was just like, this is so unhealthy. Just go a different way.
Right.
And it literally just took that physical go on a different road to where I couldn't see it, that I lost interest in it really fast, but it took me a long time to get there. I never followed him on social media. We just didn't. As soon as we were split, it was like gone. So I didn't have that. But what I did have was people telling me about his social media.
That's the worst.
And what he was doing. And again, now when I look back with clear eyes, I can see that those people did not have my best intention, that they just loved the drama. They loved the pot stirring. They love the seeing me weak. And now if I really look at those people, I'm like, you were jealous of my independence, that I was getting divorced from my toxic person, and you were still wrapped in your toxic person. So you wanted to keep me trapped with my toxic shit. And so you were doing all this like seek and destroy behavior with me. And I fell for it.
And even people who maybe have your best interest at heart just want to give you the dirt because they want to be like, oh, look at this. Look at this. Look what he's doing. And they want to, like, give him the digs. But it's like, you know what? Like, this information isn't helping me. I don't want to know what they're doing. I don't want to know who they're with. I don't want to know where you saw them or what they're saying about me or any of that stuff, because it's not helping. So some of that comes down to, you just got to set boundaries, even with your friends or your family or whoever's bringing you that information that just isn't helpful.
Yep.
Okay, so number 2, and you already touched on it, and we see this all the time, is not practicing self-care. Divorce is like emotional warfare, okay? That is not
Amen.
the time to neglect your well-being. You gotta be focusing on sleep. You gotta be hydrating your body and making sure you're eating nourishing foods. Limit the alcohol. It's something that think about it. Divorce is one of the most stressful things you can go through. So if your body is dealing with all that stress and all the cortisol and the
Yeah.
fight or flight, that shit wears you down. You have to be taking action and doing something to counter all of that stress and mayhem that you're experiencing.
I think people that listen to us for the past 2 years probably think we're full of shit. Like, they think that when we say that, because they're not on that train yet, they think
Yeah.
we are the most cliche, like, who pays you money to be a divorce coach if that's what you preach? And I have to tell you, I was on that train. I was on that train with no alcohol. I was on that train with walking. I was on this same train with this whole trend of self-care. And just this morning, and I believe in it fully now, but just this morning, I realized, oh shit, we have a meeting early this morning before school, and I have to get back for this podcast. And started to feel panic. And I'm like, I'll just skip my walk. And Jared and I had a
Mhm.
conversation. He's like, yeah, you could probably walk after you work, but how are you going to really feel at work though? And I was like, you're right. So I'm like, no matter how I look on for work, I got to go get this walk in now because I just don't function if
Right.
I don't do it. And I'll talk myself out of it later. And so my self-care is that alone time in the morning, the podcasts, Bible study, the walking, being outside.
Yeah. So
That's my
therapeutic.
self-care, and everybody knows it. Jared knows it, family, everybody knows. Kids, I mean, even my little 5 and 4-year-old are like, "See ya, mom." They know that that's what I look forward to. So,
Yeah.
it's not cliche. It's literally like the foundation of healing
Totally.
is that you have to figure out what is your jam. Now some days I'll write down that I'm going to do like a complete spa night. I'm going to pluck all the chin hairs, I'm going to do the eyebrows, I'm going to do the nails, I'm going to, really get into clean with my teeth and like do all the charcoal. I'm going to like spend a whole day on like the everything day,
Mhm.
and do all of that, shave it all.
Mhm.
But like there has to be something every day that's your thing, that you
Something. Little
self-care
pockets
every
of
day. A
peace.
little something, little pocket here and there
Excuse me.
that you
Mhm.
find yours. So I know it sounds cliche, like we're like, just take care of yourself, but you're not taking care of yourself. Those of you that are listening that don't have a routine of self-care, you are surviving and that's it. You're
Right.
not
Surviving the fight.
thriving, you're not becoming your better next self, you're not being a good role model for your kids on self-care. So later when your kids get older in that teener age, like mine are, my daughter knows, like she will literally say she came home last night and she's like, I got to go do self-care. Meaning she was going to go like take everything off and do her shower, watch her show, and just you don't interrupt her during her self-care. Cause I mean, she does a whole fucking thing.
Mhm.
But like I've taught her that.
Right.
That she has
Right.
to have her thing. And so you're modeling to your kids is all I'm gonna say. You can think it's cliche, but is a foundational piece of how will your kids take care of themselves if you're not showing them.
Yeah, and especially if you are in that process of divorce, not even the
Yeah.
recovery. If you're, like, still going to court or dealing with your mediator. I mean, we've got a client who has been dealing with this for 4 years at this point, and she is quite literally holding on with bloody fingernails. Like, she's to the point where
Mhm.
she can't even take it anymore, and she's starting to make decisions that are actually complicating things for her,
Yeah.
making things harder just because she just wants it to be over with. She just can't even stand it
Yeah.
anymore. And
Mhm.
this is what we're talking about. Like, that's because her whole 24/7, her mind is on that divorce. That's
Yeah.
all she's thinking about is her ex and this and that.
Yep.
And it consumes her. And
Mhm.
so if you've got to make sure that you're prioritizing that self-care, you can't just be all about divorce all day, all the time,
Yeah.
because it's going to not only wear down on you physically, and then you're going to have a whole nother plate of problems because then
Yep.
you're sick or your body's breaking down or you're not sleeping or whatever else, but you're going to start making shitty decisions. You
Yes.
make bad choices that then cause you more problems or that you regret later. You've got
Absolutely.
to prioritize self-care. We're serious,
Mhm.
guys.
Yes.
Okay, so number 3, letting negative self-talk take over.
Mm. Mm.
Just finding yourself drowning in criticism or self-doubt, right? It's like you got to drain the swamp.
Right.
And this is why I talk about affirmations all the time because it's the easiest thing to start doing. if you're constantly doubting yourself or telling yourself, I'm hard to love, or I'm going to be alone forever, or I'm a failure, or I ruined my kids' lives, that's not helping you. That's not going to help you feel better. It's not going to help you move on. It's not going to help you be your best self. So you've got to take control of that. You have to focus on, you have to intentionally choose things that give you different feelings, like I am learning from my mistakes. I am growing every day. I am healing more and more. Whatever it is, there's thousands of affirmations all over the internet, but making sure you're being intentional about that, because if you aren't on top of your inner critic or your negative self-talk, you're going to feel like shit.
Yeah.
You feel like shit.
Yeah. This is a big one. Again, I always go back to kids. Like, at some point, your kid is going to observe that this is like your inner dialogue, because it's going to slowly start seeping out of your mouth every once in a while, that, even if your kids give you a compliment and you turn it down,
Right.
Mom, you look so pretty today. No, I don't. I don't even have makeup on. Like, that little twinge of negativity is how it all starts. And it'll slowly just keep getting bigger and bigger. And then when you hear your kids say, I don't look pretty today, you're like, you flip out. But then you got to really go back and reflect, like, how have you trained them that people should talk about themselves or have that inner dialogue of self-doubt or confidence? Like, which is it that you're teaching your kids? This is one, again, like, if you don't want to do it for yourself, at least start off going, you know what, I got to be mindful and manifest and talk nicely and have affirmations and everything, so that my kids have those same skill sets. And eventually you'll go, man, that's really working for me too. I'm so glad I started for my kids, and now I'm absorbing it as well. Because once you have that skill set, you'll catch yourself when a negative thought does come in. You're like, whoa, easy, back up. Not letting that shit in here real quick. Just something as simple as us selling our house right now. It's real easy for me to go, God, I hope I sell my house. Instead, I'm like, we're going to sell it. It's a matter of time. The right person's going to drive by and it's going to be there. It's going to be sold. Where I think years ago, my mindset would have been like, man, I hope we sell my house. Like, if we don't sell my house, we're going to be this, and this is going to happen. And I would just start drowning myself in the domino of negativity. And I think that's so easy to do if your ex gets in your head or has said something in your court case, has said something through your children, that you let that sit there, and then you create 6 or 7 more dominoes of words that were never really said, but it's in your head. And you just make it sound worse and worse and worse. And you just let all that keep going in the negative light versus stopping it, changing your perspective, changing your words that you're speaking to yourself. Because what you think about is true. So like if you start thinking about it, it's going to become true. You got to get it out of there and only let the positive in. And again, some of you may be thinking, this sounds really cliche, but stop and ask yourself, how many things have you thought about today that are positive versus how many things you've thought about today that are negative?
Yeah.
Because our mind
we're not
easily
talking
goes
about
negative.
like toxic positivity. We're talking about, where's your mind at?
Where's your mind?
Where's your mindset?
Yeah.
Are you just focusing on the shit? Are you focusing on all your mistakes and judging yourself? Well, how's that working out for you? How does that make you feel, right? Don't do that. Be intentional about choosing certain thoughts, choose thoughts that help make you feel better.
Yeah. I like that one.
Next one. And this is huge, you guys. I'm telling you, this was part of the reason that I wound up in a second divorce. Not self-reflecting. If you're not reflecting on the role that you played in your marriage and your divorce, you are missing crucial life lessons. Now, we're not saying, how was this your fault, right? It's not about pointing fingers or taking the blame or anything, but it's like, you did play a role. We all did.
Yeah.
What red flags did you miss or ignore? What boundaries were you not setting? Where were you mentally and emotionally in the beginning of the relationship or throughout the relationship? This is how you learn. This is how you empower yourself, is pulling those little nuggets of wisdom and bringing them with you so that you can make better choices in the future. And this is also going to be really helpful for you if you're one of those people who came out of a really shitty relationship and you're afraid you're going to get into another one. How do I know I'm not going to wind up with the same person? How do I know I'm not going to find another narcissist or abusive person? Self-reflection. Where were you at? Why did you attract that kind of person into your life? You have to do this. I did none of this. No self-reflection at all. I was pointing the fingers. He did this and he did that and he sucks at this. And that's how I wound up, honestly, divorce number 2, because I took no responsibility for anything that I was doing, any of my role. And so it was like on a hamster wheel. I was just living the same life, making the same choices, the same bad choices.
Yeah. I think self-reflection on any part of your life is monumental to change, monumental to
Yes.
growth, monumental. I mean, it could be, self-reflection in your marriage, self-reflection on how were you parenting during that marriage versus how you truly wanted to parent. Because that was one of my biggest things as to why I got divorced. Is I found myself, because I came from a good house. I came from two parents who were both involved in my life, loved me, were together, all the things. And my ex came from a split home of toxicity. And I caught myself starting to parent how he wanted me to parent.
Mm.
And so, we get divorced, whatever. My reflection on that part, not even the divorce part, but just the reflection of, man, I'm so glad I left because now I don't have to parent the way he was kind of forcing me, like his path. But then I kept saying force me, and I kept saying he wanted. I allowed it. My self-reflection was, Sam, those were your children too. And you allowed somebody else to change the way you wanted to parent your children. Like, own that for what it was,
Mhm.
apologize to your children, and move on and now parent the way you want to. I
Right.
put a lot of blame on him. He was the dictator, he was the leader, he was the hierarchy, whatever. You know, it was me. I was a grown adult. I might have been in my mid-20s, but I was still an adult. And like, I had to self-reflect and go, I allowed that. I allowed that behavior to happen. I allowed that conduct. I allowed the pressure. I did. I allowed it, and if I didn't like it, I should have left even earlier. And so having that self-reflection that he's not to blame for everything. Like, and we hear a
Right.
lot of clients when they first come to us, they are great at pointing the finger. But at some point you played a part in something, whether it was a lack of communication or you became just an enabler because you didn't want to have the confrontation. I mean, I had
Mhm.
never even realized what the hamster wheel was. And I was the one jumping back into the hamster wheel. Yes, he went through the bad phase and then the love bombing phase, but it was me that jumped back into that hamster wheel to say, I'll do it again. Everybody wants to say, "Oh, they got me back." No, you allowed them to take you back.
Mhm.
You got to self-reflect that you put that boundary down and walked back into that hamster wheel again and again and again and again. I mean,
Right.
I did it for years, until I was like, whoa, no, we're not doing it anymore. So that self-reflection on your parenting and why you left or how you were in the marriage is huge for your next relationship.
Yes. Yeah.
Things you will and will not tolerate, things you will not say, things you will not do, things you will only do, like you have to self-reflect and own some of your faults in whatever that looks like in that marriage or the split.
Mhm.
How did co-parenting start? You maybe might not have had your best foot forward. Self-reflect on that, and can you alter and change some things? And I think it's sexy when
Hell
somebody
yeah.
can say, "You know what? Here's where I went wrong in life, and here's where I made a bad decision, and here's
Yeah.
where." I mean, I think that is
You're
one of the
bettering yourself.
sexiest traits, to just own shit. Own
Totally.
it.
And we're not talking about judging yourself or picking yourself apart. It's not about that. It's just
No.
observing. It's
Mhm.
just acknowledging what didn't work, right? What results
Yeah.
did you get and you want different results next time, and what role did you play in that part of things so that you can be back in the driver's seat and have more of a
Yeah.
control of like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to do this better next time, or I need to work on this, or obviously my insecurities were driving those decisions. I need to build my self-esteem and focus on,
Yeah.
where did that come
That's
from?
a
How
good
did
point.
that start?
Yeah.
That's that inner work that's so important, and it quite literally will change the trajectory of your life and all of your relationships.
And again, if you can teach yourself how to self-reflect on every instance of your life, your work, relationships, what are your kids observing? You having ownership. And then your kids won't be those finger pointer kids. They'll be like, that was my fault. Like, hey, I need to do better next time. I mean, that is huge, huge what you're teaching your kids.
Yeah. Always setting the example. They're always paying attention. Always.
Always good and bad, always watching. They're little sponges.
Yeah. Okay. The last one. Can you
Mhm.
guess what it is?
No.
I mean, there's probably a lot of it.
Drugs, alcohol,
Well, no, that would be probably in
self-care.
the self-care bucket. Yeah. It's starting a relationship too soon.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
Jumping right into a new relationship, that can be a recipe for disaster. And now I have
Right.
people who ask me this all the time, is like, how do you know? How do you know when it's time?
Well,
I
I think
wish
I
there
think
was
the
an
first
exact
question,
formula.
though, let's backtrack. I think the first question is, what makes someone think that the sheets aren't even out of the dryer yet, and we're already putting somebody else in bed?
Yeah, I'll tell you. 'Cause I did it.
Like,
I was afraid. I didn't wanna be alone. My self-esteem was down the shitter. I wanted something that was a distraction from my divorce and from my ex-husband, right? It was like, I just wanted that attention. I wanted somebody
yeah,
that just was all about me and I was physically attracted to. It's all those are all reasons that people do this, but that is not a great recipe for a healthy long-term relationship, right? You got to do
yeah,
that other stuff first, the self-reflection and taking care of yourself and understanding what your wants and needs are, but I wish there was a formula, and there really isn't. Everyone is different because
yeah,
it really depends. Like, there are some women who they checked out of their marriage fucking 10 years ago, and they just are just waiting to sign that
all the time.
paperwork. So by the time they're out of that relationship, they really are kind of ready to just move on with their
Yeah,
life, right? But
right.
some people don't feel that way, or maybe they weren't even the ones who wanted the divorce, and so they're struggling to even get over their ex. So everybody is different.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you just wanna make sure that you are very clear on your intentions. You've gotta be so honest with yourself. The why behind
Mhm.
why you wanna start a new relationship. What is it really? Is it that you're just really lonely? Or is it that you just need attention and you need a self-esteem boost, right? Be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And then kind of break it down and go, "Okay, is this really a great reason?" No, because you don't want it to be filling a void. That's
Yeah.
like the main thing is if you're dating because you're trying to fill some kind of void, it's probably not going to end well. You'll probably
Mm-mm.
end up settling or getting your heart broken again. And just that's not a good reason. You want to get yourself to a place where you feel pretty solid on your own. You feel good about
Yeah.
yourself. You like what you have going on in your life. You're pretty fulfilled. And then that relationship is really just to add value to your life. That is the best place that you can be if you want a healthy kind of relationship to move into when you're done with your divorce. So
Yeah.
embrace solitude, like learn to enjoy your own company and rediscover hobbies and your passions and who you are and set high standards, know your
Mhm.
worth and what you will and won't tolerate in your next relationship. And just make sure you check in with yourself. Do you feel whole and happy and fulfilled on your own? And if you do, then you're probably in a really healthy place to start dating again.
Yeah. And I would say use that also that time to explore your body and
Yeah.
know what you like. Because
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people when they finally do get divorced, they've been in such a loveless, no physical touch type of relationship that like you need to rebuild your relationship with your body
Mhm.
also. Not just the way it looks, but the way it feels and how you
Mhm.
know it works, I think is really healthy. I was just watching last night, we're watching Grays. And last night was the night where DeLuca's sister comes and she's the new gynecologist and she's all about the female orgasm. And so that topic was conversation last night. And it just, I think when you're at this point, jumping into a relationship, whether it be just for physical reasons, but I think what you said, like know your intention. And some of you just aren't ready. Like you
Mhm.
haven't done any of the other four things yet. You haven't self reflect. You don't even know how to take care of yourself. And you're just looking for somebody to jump in and start taking care of you again. I mean, we say it all the time. I think one of the sexiest things about you is whenever you can just hold your own on all calibers of your life. Financially,
Mhm.
you're good. Mentally, you're good. Emotionally, you're stable. You're taking care of your kids. Your house is functioning well. Like you're going to attract greatness
Mhm.
because a greatness will attract greatness. So you're going to be finding somebody good if you're in a good spot. But
Yeah.
I mean, and I did it too. I jumped right into a relationship, and it's like, ask yourself, what did I expect out of that
Right.
relationship? I mean, I was in a train wreck of emotions, going through a divorce, like custody battle out the ass, and broke as a fucking joke. And I really thought that relationship was going to be sound of a good place. If I look back, all we did was bitch about my divorce, talk about my divorce, drink about
Yeah.
my divorce. Like
Right.
it was just nothing positive
Right.
about
It's
that
essentially a
relationship.
coping mechanism.
Oh, it was 100% distraction slash coping mechanism. That's all it was.
Yeah.
No emotional attack. It was literally like, can you be my best friend for a little bit? Because
Right.
I need to talk about that. And that's all it was, and it was pity upon pity. And looking back, it just wasn't smart. It served its purpose, educational for
Yep.
later. But now, again, we've told the story. I met Jared when I was had been alone and was just living my best life. And it was
Yeah.
like, that I had all these foundational pieces. So if you're somebody that's just brand new to divorce, take the time to check box all 5 of these things and you'll be good. I mean, you really will. And there's nothing wrong. Just because your ex jumped into a relationship, they obviously didn't want to have time to self-reflect. They're not taking care of themselves and they don't want to do anything on their own. They brought somebody in, so that spot got filled again and they're golden. I mean, and that's them. And that's the thing. Just because they make a choice doesn't mean it's a reflection upon you or that you need to make a different choice. Let them figure it out for themselves. They want to jump into 65 relationships the next 5 years. Let that be them, and you don't have a right to protect your kids about that anymore in divorce. Like that's how that house is going to run. How is your house going to run? Your house needs to be the stable house. Your house needs to be the house where foundational things like self-reflection, positive talk, all those things come into play. You can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
You got this. So that's it. That's the top 5. And we see it all the time. I made all those mistakes.
I made them. I made all those. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Repeatedly.
So, right? It takes some time. And again, you don't want to judge yourself. This is all a learning experience, right?
No, absolutely.
But try to learn from our mistakes, skip some of that trial and error and focus on the things that are really most important and that are going to benefit you the most moving forward and really set you up for success and really help you feel like your best self. Like you are doing the best that you can do with who you are, how you feel, how you're parenting, and how you're showing up in relationships.
Absolutely. All right, guys, until next time, take care of yourselves. Send this on to somebody else. Feel free to share this and also feel free to sign up for the next chapter.